Yeah.
I have a couple things that if you'd like to, would kind of dive in. I'm very interested in getting from the insider you
Yeah.
point of view,
Yeah.
all about the book, like the magic of it. So
Yeah.
one question I had is this the timing. Timing seems to be everything, but can you point to anything that was happening either in your own life or your work that made you realize now's the time for this to be written? And you can speak specifically, of course, to those insurance advisors in Asia, if you'd like to, or just as
Yeah.
generalities.
So I'll tell you, the thing is, what few people know about this book already is, and the few people are that 2% that's heard the talk before. The
Mhm.
presentation that I've been giving for the last couple of years is in and around the framework of control, right? Now, what
Yes.
instantly happens, Chad, is I have this talk in a conference with the Million Dollar Roundtable, either in Macau or in Dubai or in Timbuktu, wherever the meetings are taking
Right.
place. I have this conversation, and almost instantly, when I get back home from the trip, I've got people reaching out to me on Instagram or LinkedIn saying, "Hey, your talk was really impactful. I have some more questions. Could you please give me some of your time?" And I'm
Mhm.
excited about that conversation because I'm looking at it as making a difference in somebody's life. Someone who's willing
Absolutely.
to, someone who's actually taking, it takes some courage to reach out and ask somebody, a
Oh,
peer, that, "Hey,
absolutely.
I loved your content. Would you be willing to help me with some stuff?" It takes a lot of
Mhm.
courage. So when people write and say that, I'm like, "Hey, I'm all in." The challenge with "I'm all in" and a ninth quick start is, you run out of time and you suddenly
Yes, you
realize
do.
you're repeating your
Mhm.
answers to so
Yes,
many different individuals. So over the last 3 or 4
absolutely.
years, that has been a continuous thing
Ah,
where I'm on a message or a chat with somebody. It begins with LinkedIn, then it goes into, "Can we have a call, please? Can I
yep.
take some of your time?" And I always think about the people that gave me time when I was starting out as an
Yes.
advisor. If I did ask and someone gave me time, so I'm like, "You know what? I can do this. I can give you
Yes,
time."
indeed.
But the reality is the conversation is repetitive.
Yes, indeed it is.
The
I understand what
conversation
you
is
mean.
repetitive. It's like an
Yeah.
FAQ if you think about it,
Yes,
right?
indeed. It is. Yeah.
So, so the idea that was floated by my content creator was, "Rickson, this presentation is great. Every time we
Mhm.
present, we see this crazy metrics in the way your posts are performing, the number of people that are
Wow.
now following you, the number of people that are reaching out to you, etc., etc. So, how about we turn this into a book?" The honest truth,
Absolutely.
it was not my idea.
Ah,
It was the idea of our content creator who said, "This is a great book idea." Because
indeed.
the other idea for me, for my book, was to have this book called uh, Obese to 250K. It's my story of running across the Sahara Desert. But if you asked me, "Rickson, who is the audience for this book?" I don't
Oh,
have an answer. It could be anybody.
exactly.
Who am I trying
That's
to
right.
impact with this book? I don't know. It could
Yeah.
be anybody. But when you talk about Take Control as a book, the audience is very defined. It is literally to
Yeah.
that life insurance advisor and the financial services advisor, to help them with income and have that exponential growth in income, right?
Yeah.
So because we launched Suchicia Academy, with the idea that we want to be in the space eventually
Yes.
of impacting positively financial advisors and life insurance consultants globally, beginning with Asia, and then unpacking all of that stuff with you, unpacking all of that
Mhm.
stuff with Dean Jackson, unpacking
Yes.
all of that stuff in our regular quarterly meetings at Strategic
Yeah.
Coach, and me realizing that I've been unpacking a lot of things without doing anything about it. So there was
Uh-oh.
this, yeah, there was this catalyst that needed to happen somewhere where I said, "You know what?
Yes,
The book could be a great way for me to put it out there."
indeed.
Then, that could be the lead. And that's what we lead with. And that's why the book, and that's why it came out now, just because I didn't want another year to go by with this amazing feeling of the fact that I can have this impact. I've set a deadline of an impact
Yes.
5 years in. That's our BHAG. But I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm just going to keep talking about it. Right. So that's why, yeah, that's why now, because I always say that being in coach and being around
Yeah.
entrepreneurs and being around people who understand, who could be your who's, who understand who your who's should be, they
Yes,
don't
sir.
push you, but they pull you along the right, they pull you with them. You know,
Yeah, it's magnetizing.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. They just,
It's
yeah,
I've
yeah,
told my girls, I take my girls to school. Well, not anymore because now they started driving, at least my oldest daughter. But when I used to take them to school every morning, I would
yeah,
say, "Show me your friends, I'll show you your future."
right?
Because there is a magnetization that happens from the energy around one person who's vibrating at a higher frequency. You get two people vibrating at a higher frequency, you begin to get pulled up to that frequency. So what you're saying makes complete sense. And obviously, both of us invest a decent amount of time, effort, energy, and resources to be around those who are vibrating at that frequency. So what a great point.
Absolutely.
When you talk about control in the book, what do you feel like most have given up control of, but they just don't know it? Is there some simple things or one or two things that really stand out that you've noticed?
Yeah. Okay. I think first of all, I'll tell you something. It's an ironic story. I landed in
Yeah.
New York on the 14th of December, and the
Mhm.
launch of the book was going to be on the 17th of December in New York. Landed in New York with this thought process that I landed New York, I catch a connecting flight to Toronto, I attend
Yeah.
strategic coach for 2 days, 1.5 days, and then catch a flight back, and I'm here for the book launch. And the book is called
Yeah.
Take Control. Yet when I got to that airport to LaGuardia, I had to literally surrender control,
Yes.
and say,
Yes.
well, today I'm not flying and I'm not going to run around trying to figure out, should I get to New York? Should I do this? Should I do that? I need to make it there on time, cancel booking. You know what? Surrender. The
Just
fact
let it
is,
flow.
yeah, the fact is that control, if I think about my thought process behind control, let's say 5 years ago or
Yes.
10 years ago, 25 years ago when I got into the business, what control meant at those various stages in my life was very different. What
Mhm.
control meant for me when I first started out was trying to stick to a formula that was 10-3-1. Call 10 people a day or try and meet 10 people a day, actually sit and have conversations with three prospects for life insurance and attempt to close one person a day, 6 days a week. That was my idea of control. It didn't matter if it was a long weekend, it didn't matter because my mentor told me, hey, Rickson, you got to meet three people. You have to meet three people a day, 6 days a week. And I guarantee you,
Wow.
you will be successful. If you meet,
Wow.
if you meet less than three people a day, if you meet two, you may be successful. But if you meet three people a day, I guarantee it. I was 22 years old. I was very
You're gonna meet
impressionable.
some people. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I was very impressionable. And here's a guy who was a super successful advisor telling me,
Yes.
follow this formula and it'll work. So my idea of control then was, hey, I got to get to 99 rejections because the 100th
Yes.
one is going to be a yes.
That's gonna be the
So
one. Yes.
that was my idea of control. But as the years have gone by, as my personal situation changed, as my goals changed, I can't imagine today at this point trying to meet three people a day, 6 days a week. I mean,
Oof.
that would lead to burnout for me today. But was
It
it
would today.
required? Yeah. But was
Mhm.
it
It was
required in
required.
1999? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
one of the things we speak about in control is the definition of right fit clients. R in control is right
Yes.
fit clients. And the truth is, a lot of young advisors ask me this. Your right fit client is a high net worth and an ultra high net worth individual. Worth over 500 million US dollars. I want to work in that market, and I've always asked
Mhm.
them, how do you know that you want to work in that market?
Yes.
For me, the first 5 to 10 years in the business, meeting pretty
Mhm.
much everybody, exposed me
Mhm.
to the marketplace in such a manner that I was able to identify really, first of all, who do I not want to work with?
Indeed. Most
Right?
important. Yes.
Absolutely. And then as a result, we found out, hey, these are the worst people in the lot that I don't want to work with. And these few people, when I meet them, the emotion is positive,
Oh, you
right?
just feel it.
Regardless
Yeah.
of money on the table, I'll have a conversation with them. Hey, if this was a Zoom era in the early 2000s,
Mhm.
I'd be on a call with them at 10 o'clock at night. No problem,
No
right?
problem.
But
Yeah.
so that realization of how those things have changed for me. And I talk to younger advisors
Yeah.
today. when you talk about right fit clients and you say, I want to do what you're doing, Rickson, which is working with
Mm,
high net worth and the ultra high net worth. No, what I'm really
yes,
hearing you say is you want to make that money. You've tied yourself to the
exactly.
outcome, which is I want to make that money. And you're
That's right.
saying, he is making that. So I'm going to just do what he's doing.
Mm,
But
just follow him. Yeah,
reality, you might be somebody who loves to work with the masses. And if you love
indeed.
to work with the masses, suddenly switching your markets and being with high net worth clientele, you may have nothing in common with them. There could be so many things going
Exactly.
wrong. But if you're working with the masses, your definition of success would be a volume game. And maybe the right solution is to seminar sell,
Oh, yes. Yeah.
because you could still make the money in theory and you're
Yeah.
talking to the audience that you love to talk to. Um,
Hmm.
I think that these things change over the years based on the influence factor. Who have you been
Hmm.
spending your time with? What books have you been reading? What do you are you doing any introspection at all to figure out how does this feel? I just closed a
Mm,
big deal. Awesome. I made so much of money. Great. I don't enjoy that. I don't enjoy
yeah.
the I didn't enjoy the conversation with that individual. We had nothing in common. So I think this control framework, this thought process around it has changed for me over the years. And I don't think it's unnatural. I think it's part of growing up.
Mm-mm. I think it so for me, maturity seems to take a pretty good style step forward about every 5 years. There's a monumental change that I can point back to. That there's been small changes throughout, but if you looking backwards, it's pretty easy to see in that 5-year period, this was my focus, or these are all the attributes that would empower me to take control because I'm driven by an awareness of who I actually am. So that
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense to me, that there is cycles to it, and it's like a stair step, so to speak. Um, what would you say is one mindset shift that would instantly return somebody to control who's feeling kind of stuck or out of place or just maybe in the mud, off in the ditch?
I think self-awareness, because a lot of us tend to search for solutions outside,
And
right?
identity, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We always see what can be, yeah, you're right, identity. What can you identify with? Where can you align yourself with? So there is a path
Mhm,
and you can
mhm,
just follow. It's an interesting thing today. You've got me on a Tuesday, and every Tuesday morning for the last 7 years, I
mhm.
do something called Track Tuesday, which means we find a 400-meter track to run
Oh,
around
yeah.
for an hour. Our coaches give us this training routine for us to just hit
Mhm.
certain, metrics on this track. So we've got interval training and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
People, today's was the 12 days of Christmas. So we start with 1.2 kilometers, then we go to
Okay.
1.1 kilometer, and then 900 kilometers. 900 meters is all in, and you got a break, and you repeat the whole thing till you get to zero. Amazing. And the interesting thing is we've got different pacing groups, and
Uh-huh.
sometimes when you're feeling uh, at your worst, when you're super tired, you've had 3 sprints in, it's the fourth one now, and you're super tired, the best solution may
Mhm.
not be to follow. The best solution
Mm.
would be to
Yeah,
say, I'm going to lead this one, and I'm not
indeed.
doing it to lead you. I'm doing it because I can be accountable to myself, knowing that I have these 5 guys following me, and I got
Yes,
to see.
indeed.
So
Yeah,
sometimes, in order to, take control of things, you may have to lead rather than follow. And I feel
yeah.
today, with all the noise that's out there, it's so easy to go down the wrong rabbit hole and just follow because a
Oh,
certain
good.
solution worked for somebody. And as much as I think that there is a lot of good stuff out there that you can reach out to and learn and grow, it is equally important to know the person you are before you
Mm.
start following, right? One of the
Yes.
most common things I've heard with the next gen advisor of late, especially in Asia, is there was this. I remember one of the meetings I went to, and what came up constantly was "you do you." Everyone is saying this is justification. You do you. Everybody is
Okay.
doing their own thing. That's great, but justification for being who you are is you do you. Great. And
Mm.
my thought process on that, when I heard that repeated several times, I thought to myself, that's great. That is actually
Mhm.
great. But
Yes.
in order to do you, you need to know who you are as a person.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
It is almost, I think it runs parallel with saying, hey, I'm going to be a life coach and I'm only 23
Hmm.
years old, but I'm a life coach. And the question
Yes.
that has to be asked is, what is the life experiences that you have as an individual? What is the trauma you dealt with? What were the issues
Yeah,
you dealt with that qualify you to be a life coach beyond you having a certification?
indeed.
What are
Yeah.
the
A little bit of
experiences you bring
education.
to the table? Yeah, right.
Yep.
And
So
and
the makeup
yeah,
of you is so important. That
absolutely.
makes so
So
much
I
sense.
think mindset shift should be introspection.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. Yeah, it's interesting. Our work at the CoLab is all about collaboration. I know that
Yeah.
comes as a big surprise. The very first collaboration that's required is with you. You can't collaborate externally if you don't know exactly what you bring to the party. So it makes a lot of sense that the mindset shift to go internally and less externally for validation and or identity, the alignment that you talk about. I don't know what to be aligned to if I don't know what I am to be aligned with. So it makes a ton of sense. And yeah, I can see why you say that. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
When I think about daily practices,
Yeah.
is there one daily practice that you can point to from the book that really compounds the ability to control over time? Is there one thing that maybe you do on a daily basis that you've seen just really compounds the value of the return from doing that activity day after day after day?
I'll tell you that it has. The answer is, in short, the answer is yes, there is. But it has been that way for a certain part of my journey. And when
Mhm.
then because of introspection, when you realize, oh, hang on, I'm going down this path, but I actually need to be over there, then
Mm.
there may be another activity that requires that time and attention and that,
Oh,
that
yes.
regularity, but it may not be the same as it was for the last 5 years. So I'll give you some
Mhm.
some context. For the longest time, I did the 10-3-1 formula because my mentor told me that he didn't have the time to spend with me. I was 21 years old, and he said, I don't have the time to spend with you, but I will see you if you've told me that you've met 3 people the previous day. If the answer is yes, I did meet them, and you share your notes with me on that, you talk to me about these cases, then the next morning you are guaranteed 15 minutes of my time.
Oh,
So for
wow.
the so for the
Interesting.
first 3 or 4 years, and this was a busy guy. He was a really busy guy.
Yeah.
And those 15 minutes that he granted me was at 7:30 or 7:45 a.m. And
Got
as
it.
soon as I walked in, his question would be, did you see 3 people yesterday? I'd be like, yes. He said, okay, then you can have a seat. And if I said no, he'd be like, Rickson, you need to step out of my office. I'm going to read the newspaper,
Wow.
and that's going to be more interesting for me than to sit with you and reward you with my time for not having done what you were meant to do. So
Yes,
that
indeed.
was so ingrained in my head that
Mhm.
for 4 or 5 years of my life, I did 10-3-1. 6 days a week. Didn't matter if it was a long weekend and all my friends were busy
Mhm.
partying or camping on a beach somewhere. I had to meet 3 people before I was able to do that. And my goal, and
Wow.
I changed that to I need to meet 18 people a week, which
Right.
means if I didn't see 2 people on a work day or 3 people on the work day, then the weekend would be busy with me meeting people.
New
But
people.
that
Absolutely.
was the. Whereas today, if you ask me, my goal is the exact opposite. Like today, if
Yes.
you tell me, are you seeing 3 people a day, 6 days a week? No. Our goal today is to land 4 new lifelong relationships per year.
Per year. Yeah, that's amazing.
So the goal is not to meet 3 new people a
Yeah.
day. I will be exhausted and tired,
No
and I won't
doubt.
be able to deliver at my best. So today, the goal is to land 4 new lifelong relationships a year. We don't care about transaction size, we don't care about the commission, the earnings, the revenue, but is it a client that we align with,
Yes.
right? That's critical for me. So today, my goal is very different, right? It's not the
Mhm.
same practice. Then I'll tell you, during COVID, I decided,
Mhm.
or just pre-COVID, when the realization that I was in this deep, big financial debt myself from
Yes.
2016 till
Oh, yes.
2022, when I realized that, and there was a need for me to take control. And I realized that I was most productive when the rest of the household was asleep.
Oh,
So, regardless of what happened, I woke up at 4 a.m.
yes.
I got my emails done, the
Mhm.
delegation part of it, sent it out to my team, did whatever needs to be done. And by the time it was 7 a.m., I
Mhm.
was done with the workout, done with my emails, ready to drop the kids to school. And when I
Yep.
was done with the school activity, which was 8:15 a.m., I'm done. Now I had to just meet that metric of having that one quality meeting with a client or one quality meeting with an introducer per day. And that's what saw me through the whole debt bit, those 3 or 4
Oh,
years
yes.
of just repetitively doing that, just waking up
Yes,
super, super early. The early bird catches the worm. That was what I
as it
went
turns
with,
out.
and it
Yes.
completely worked. Today, I don't follow the same thing. Today, I feel like I need more rest and relaxation because the
Yes.
conversations I do have
Mhm.
are critical, that require my time and attention. They
Yeah.
require me to be completely focused. I can't be fatigued in that conversation. I have to be present. So today the thought process is completely different. But there is, if you
Mhm.
look at my activities today, I still do have certain things which are part of my routine. And it just
Yes.
aligns with my goals that are relevant for today. Right?
That makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
just aligning those goals and those activities, the behaviors
Yeah.
specifically that you
Yes.
do on a daily basis that create the best version of Rickson to show up. You mentioned having to be completely present
Yeah.
and really deep in those conversations. If I'm only looking for 4 lifelong relationships, when I do meet them, I have to be 100% there. So I can see that, and I can also see how it changed over time. Very, very similar. I remember
Yeah.
putting 87,000 miles on a vehicle in 1 year going around Charlotte, North Carolina. Boy, I was hustling. It was a different business, and it changes the more so over time as long as you are, in my world, identifying the friction, which is a leading indication for value creation, and focusing your behaviors and your activities upon that. So it makes a lot of sense. The mindset shift that would you point to the mindset shift as really being the constant around all of those changes by 5-year cycles? Is there anything that you can really point to that you say, this is the guiding principle that was driving my level of awareness that changed my attentiveness to shape those behaviors? Is there one kind of thing that you can see even through the 5-year cycles that you've always been dedicated to doing, and yet it manifests as different things during those cycles, but there is a constant?
I'd say the main thing for me is, regardless of the point in life, there was
Mhm.
always a goal. I was very clear about
Ah,
a measurable goal. And I
yes.
like the measurability element of the goal. I don't like it being vague. And I think that's been my true North Star, regardless of the situation I was in. When I ran a brokerage firm we had advisors that worked with us, there was a goal
Yes.
to get to a certain number of financial advisors. Today, when I look back at
Okay.
that journey, I look at that as misguided ambition. But the truth is,
Yes.
everything I did then took me
Mhm.
towards that number of advisors that I wanted on board in the company, right? And
Got it.
when I exited that business and I started working in the space of high net worth entrepreneurs, again, the clarity on the goals were around the numbers, the type of
Mhm.
relationships, what kind of business are we looking at closing, who is the definition of our right fit client? Are we only talking to that individual? Today, if
Right.
you ask me, and you've been kind enough to introduce me to Matthew Abrams, and Matthew and
Yeah.
me just finished our first annual session for EOS. We finished a year into the program, and we just got back from that. And today, if I look at it, and I know 5 years in, what is the BHAG for
Mhm.
Sachicia Global? We want to have $3 billion of in-force life insurance cover. I want to be responsible for death claim settlements of 3 billion US dollars. That's our 5-year BHAG. And if
Oh,
I
yes.
reverse integrate that, are in the next 1 year, we need to be at 1.2, 1.25 billion US dollars. It's clarity of that
Mm,
number. I'm not gauging it based on what's the target allocated to me by a master distributor, how much commission we need. I look at those things as being the result of us going in this direction. So the focus is not numbers today, the focus is the actions, and the actions are driven by the destination. The destination is that BHAG of, in our case, it is that clarity of 1 billion, $1.25 billion in life insurance cover, which means this year, 2026, the coming year, we need to onboard clients in a total of 450 million US dollars of additional life insurance cover, and this can't be more than 4 new clients for the year. So
mm,
the
mm,
clarity and the clarity of just the fact that that is the number and it's measurable, and I have a year to do that, this provides
mm.
me with that direction. So I think all through this period from 99 till now, one thing that has been certain is every goal we had was slightly scarier, but was always measurable. So it's not vague.
Mm. That
And
North
I think,
Star.
yeah, because I think that creates the obsession,
Yes,
right?
I agree. Yeah. So you may know my purpose is to evolve collaboration from a concept that we talk about so often, but don't really fully understand if we did that's the only thing that we would do into our culture, which would be interwoven into the fabric of humanity. I think the building blocks exist there. I've tracked it back in my research all the way to the beginning of humanity. But having that North Star, it makes it really easy for not only myself, but also the team. Because everything that we do, building out our apprentice program, now we're working on the legacy program. We have some titans around personal development that are being magnetized by we use in our conversation that are being pulled in. But I think it is because coming out of our pores is the drive and almost palpable that we are going to stay steady to our mission and our purpose and everything that we do. So it makes a lot of sense that that is having that common through line through each 5-year cycle. There's no change because you have it, but having those measurable goals, even in those cycles, make a huge difference. What a great
Yeah.
point.
I think there
Very,
is one more thing. If there was one more thing I had to add
yeah.
over there, it's a constant state of ownership.
Oh,
And
yes.
when I say ownership, I mean not always having somebody handy to point a finger at and say, hey, all of this didn't work because of that individual, because of that situation, because of this
Mm,
problem. I think, and I think this is probably also where introspection makes a big difference. Just
yes.
clarity in knowing that this was the goal, and I set this goal intentionally in a manner that I would take complete ownership of it, both the
Yes.
win and
Yeah.
if and when we failed to hit it. But
Indeed.
ownership, and I think ownership for me over the years, just getting more focused and dialed into that, changed everything. Because knowing knowing that if you know at the outset that you are to blame and you get the praise if you
Mm,
win or lose, it's all up
yes.
to you, then you can redefine the game.
Yes, you
You
can.
know, you
You know,
can.
the redefining the game, I think, is so strong. Rickson, I now operate under there are no coincidences. They're just mislearning.
Yeah.
So one context that you shared with us on the call was your trip recently to New York and Manhattan, and then bouncing from there to Toronto, and then if I'm not mistaken, right back to New York for the
Mhm.
book launch. But the flights were not they didn't support that. I mean,
That's
there's
right.
a way you might have could walked or maybe could have rented a car, but the flights were not being that agreeable that day. So, as a convention, I believe, normally, we would get frustrated, maybe a little bit of time for one of our assistants to speak with the airlines. Instead of trying to get the learning, things are not in your control, but what you are in control, which I could read the theming through the book, is we're in control of the way we react. So it really complemented my position in that I try to lead my life with every day is there are no coincidences. There's just mislearning. So that self-reflection or internal awareness when something doesn't go right, when I combine that with the awareness that all particles, speaking specifically of science, all particles are in all states at once until they're viewed. So if that's true, all the possibilities exist at one time. It's just what are we deleting and what are we not deleting? So having the right approach to, hey, this I can't get there today, the flights aren't working. What am I supposed to learn here? I remember my North Star, having those measurable goals to a number. How can I take this instance to which I'm not in control of these variables, but I am in control to understand how these variables recombine to facilitate forward progress to that measurable goal or that to that North Star, which the theming through the book I could read, and it was awesome because it's complementary of just the way that I try to live and approach life in general. And I will be honest, ever since that change, life has gotten a million times better. That things are just things, and the realization that we're the ones who give them meaning, well, that's very empowering
Yeah.
in a world in which you might think you're in control, but you're absolutely not in control, but you are always in control of how you react.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're right with that. There is, at the end of the day, with whatever doesn't go your way, there is
Mhm,
learn. There is learning.
mhm,
My conversation with one of my friends about this is, hey, we rarely ever have a problem in Dubai with
mhm,
flights not taking off or landing on time due to weather. It's the one
mm.
day in the year that it may rain that you have this.
Yeah.
But I said, my learning over here is, and ownership, and my learning over here is, my assistant asked me, should I just book you one way to Toronto directly? It takes you the same amount of time. And should you just come back from New York? And I said in
Mhm,
my head, I said, no, this is okay. I'm happy with landing in New York, catching a flight to Toronto. She said, this may be simpler. I'm just saying. And I said,
mhm.
no, don't worry. And now in hindsight, I think about it like, hey, now we've changed how we operate.
Yes.
December through March, if we're in North
Yes.
America, we will try to get the direct flight there because
To your final. Yeah, that makes sense.
that makes sense. Because there is no value added in me taking the extra flight.
No,
Um, it's a learning. And I thought about it. I said, if my assistant was here right now, she would have said, I told you so.
I told you so. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
And
They're
truth.
very
That
smarter
was
than
true.
we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd be nowhere without
Absolutely.
my support partners, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No coincidences, just mislearning. All
Absolutely.
possibilities exist. Stop deleting the future that you want. The book, Take Control, you've done a marvelous job.
Thank you so
What
much.
you outlined there, and I understand earlier in the conversation of it was written for those that you serve today, but
Yeah.
I would challenge you a little bit on that, Rickson. There's so much in that book that is empowering to just humans in general, and the power that they actually have if they'll do what you say, take control. It's really good. So congratulations. I can
Thank
see
you so
why
much.
it's bestseller already. So congratulations on that.
Thank you
And
so much.
I'm excited about getting this out and helping others get really connected with the book. And hopefully they will take advantage of reading it and integrate it into their lives and start living a life that I would call desirement. Only do things that you desire. You'd first start by taking control.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
On that note, I have to say, this morning I was running around the track and
Yeah.
somebody came up to me and said, hey, man, congratulations on the book. And another friend who I just spoke to for like 2 or 3 minutes, she said, oh my God, you have a book out? Tell me more about this. Where do I buy it? And I said to her, I said, don't buy it. And she said, what? I said, it's not for you. It's
Yeah.
it's it's for financial advisors, life insurance agents. And now listening to what you said, I think a rephrased response would be buy the book. Why don't you read it as you are as a person and let me know if you got any takeaways from there. Just given the
Bingo.
fact that you're not from our industry and our trade,
Right.
or you're not the intentional audience for this book, I'd be keen on knowing what are your takeaways. I'm curious
Yes,
about that.
indeed.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that'd be awesome. What a great way. I think there's a lot of meat in there that's very helpful just to anyone. I understand who you wrote it for, and it's certainly impactful for them. I'd strongly suggest everyone. It's required reading, if you had asked me. and I expect it to continue getting closer to that, but it does affect humans because there's some core principles that are very profound. So thank you for
Thank-
investing the time, effort, energy. Obviously, your experience and your journey has brought you to this point, being able to see it from your perspective, and then just the investment of time I know that it takes to write the book and publish and market and get it out there. That's a lot. So it's a pretty heavy lift, and we certainly thank you for it.
Thank you so much for putting together the collaboration. This was made so much easier by the fact that the right people did what they did well,
Yes,
and I
yes.
just stayed in my lane and did
Hmm.
what I do well.
Hmm.
I don't see this having gone out to the world if it was only up to me doing what I did.
Oh, yes. Yeah, very
Yeah,
similar. It took me quite a few years when I
yeah,
continuously had people say, "You should write a book. You should write a book." It's like,
yeah,
not me. And it still took a couple years, but then once I began to find the right people, it's all about the right collaborators for me, of course. And once I found the right collaborators, I did nothing more than wanted to do it again, and then to
yeah.
share the journey with others, which of course is where CoVERSE came from. So this is great. There'll be many more books in the future, I suppose.
There's at least one more scheduled for 2026.
That's awesome.
I'm yet to define the audience for it because I thought the audience could be anybody, but I'm
Yeah.
challenging myself to dig deeper with that to answer that question before it goes out. Yeah.
Mm. Rickson, when I say you're already serving that audience and they're about as far in front of your face as the tip of your nose, it'll be fun to find them. It's actually frustrating every time I do.
Yeah.
And sure enough,
Yeah.
they're about that far in front of me. I'm like, right there they are, finally. But I
Yeah.
look forward to hearing about it and also seeing the body of work in the short future. Thanks for making the
Thank you
time
so
this
much.
morning.
Not at all. My pleasure, man. Take care.
Good to see you.
See ya. Bye bye.
Okay, we should be good. That's enough for them to cut. And
All right.
that was great, man. Yeah, decent amount of depth, but very reachable. It seems like. Um, That's awesome. And they'll get it chopped up. I'd say, obviously, we're right here in the middle of the holiday. Probably just be next week and shoot it to you, and feel free to take it and do anything that you want to with it.
Perfect. We'll tag you guys on it anyways. Bharat's working on things for us, so we're making sure that it's put out in the right manner as well. Listen, I wanted to say this.
Yeah.
I said it earlier on the call, but I wanted to honestly say that the last 90 days has been an acceleration to get this out there, and I truly feel just having spoken to you about it and you making the connects with Carrie and and everything else just falling into place, it literally meant that my part to play in this was so minuscule. It felt like I was busy with other things and this was just
Yes.
going on in the background.
It's just happening
Right.
the right way. Yes.
The right way. Absolutely. And I love that. So thank you so much for orchestrating all
Yeah.
of this.
My pleasure.
It was epic. Yeah. Yeah.
More and more, it's going to be happening. The way to, I mean, have you go back and read the default definition of an entrepreneur? We're supposed to take resources that operate at this performance, and we're supposed
Yes.
to increase the performance of those resources.
Yeah.
So at its root, at the root, your and my job is to find leverage
Yeah.
in
Yes.
the context or category or discipline that we are serving. Our job as entrepreneurs, the first job is to find leverage. There is no better leverage than collaboration.
Yeah.
None.
This is this is so
That's
true.
it. So it's as we continue to elevate. First, I think it's already happened. When you join the collab, you begin to activate your collaborative intelligence. But along your journey, and now you're starting to have some success with it, you just continue to ramp up your collaborative intelligence. Before too long, it shapes your mindset to see the world that way. That all the resources in the world are at Rickson's fingertips. They're awaiting his vision to show up on how they should combine to create something new and exciting.
Yeah.
The world is limitless. It is, man. What I
Yeah.
talked about
Yes.
earlier, stop deleting the future that you want. So many are deleting the future that they want because all the possibilities exist. They're waiting on those individual parts to be combined. And the only way that that happens is through vision.
Yeah.
And so,
Yes.
and of course, everything is a collaboration because why? Because you put two things, individual things together, it creates an emergent. It's
Yeah.
all creativity. So it's fun to be along the journey with you.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. Thanks so much, Chad. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.